afternoon, buenas tardes, buenos dias, buenas noches. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Costa Rica. If you have been tuning in regularly, you will see that I'm back in my normal digs this week for my Facebook Live. Last week I was live from Canada where it was like minus 20 degrees, and now we're in beautiful, sunny Costa Rica where it's what would you say, 30 degrees right now? Maybe more? Beautiful.
30,
about 34 degrees. Kenneth, my dear friend. Kenneth, come say hi. We haven't seen Kenneth in a few weeks. Kenneth, my dear partner.
Hi, Facebook.
And helper here. He's going to be answering your questions. So it's beautiful here in Costa Rica right now. It's super sunny. It's super warm, but there's beautiful breezes. You're probably going to see my stuff blowing around here with these wonderful winds. You can see the plants behind me. So I'm super happy to be back here and super excited to get, as it's Sunday today, we're welcoming a whole new group of guests coming through. I think we have about 55 check-ins today. We had a bunch of great new people checking in yesterday. We just finished an amazing week with an amazing group of people who are all on their way to their planes and heading back into their lives, integrating their new beautiful souls and sprinkling their love and light back home. So I'm super happy about that. If someone who's watching, who do we got watching here? We've got Marina McKenzie, we've got Kenneth watching. Jennifer, if you guys can send me just a quick note here how the audio sounds to you guys. Hopefully it sounds okay. We're using a different computer than we normally do. So I want to make sure you guys are hearing okay before I get into everything. Kenneth is giving me a thumbs up on the audio. And the wind might cause us some problems with the sound as well. I can see the whole computer shaking a little bit right now. Because like I said, there's strong winds. So if you got the email, if you checked the Facebook event, if you see what I have titled this live, you'll see that we are talking about a little bit about Ayurveda today. I've called it Ayurveda 101. I just shared on my Instagram about 10 minutes ago the fact that I had just finished explaining the principles, the fundamentals of Ayurveda to some of my staff here, all in Spanish, which is something I never thought I would be able to do. I didn't think I would have the vocabulary to do that, but I think I did a pretty good job, Kenneth?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any Spanish translation for things like Ayurveda or doshas or Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which are things that I'm going to get into very, very shortly when it comes to Ayurveda. But I think I did a pretty good job explaining the different body types that are involved in what's probably better, Ayurveda. Now, I just brought these books for a couple of examples. And before I get into the actual cooking part of the program, I do want to just talk about Ayurveda a little bit. And Ayurveda is something that I studied intensely when I was doing my yoga teacher training years ago, and it's the health science that goes hand in hand with yoga. So it's Eastern medicine, probably the easiest way to put it. And in the Ayurveda, we like to look at our bodies as having different constitutions. So there are technically 3 different constitutions that we look at when we talk about Ayurveda. And each of these constitutions or body types have different, what's the word I'm thinking of? Different elements, different principles, different makeup. And it's very similar when you think back. I know when I was in school, I studied the difference between an ectomorph, a mesomorph, and an endomorph body. And it's kind of a lot of the same parallel principles. So we're going to talk a bit about that right now. When I was studying my Ayurveda, I diagnosed myself doing a bunch of tests, which you can do online as a Vata. So there's 3 types. There's a Vata, there is Pitta, and there is Kapha. And I've gone ahead and made a little chart that I'm going to paste in the comments in like a Word document or a PDF, just to give you guys a quick reference. But if you Google what's my dosha, which is spelled D-O-S-H-A, if you Google that, you're going to get a ton of different online tests that you could do. And it's just a matter of going through and answering a bunch of questions about everything from your body type, like if you're tall and slender, or if you're a little bit shorter, or if you've got thick muscles, if you've got thick bones, to whether you have thick hair, if you have strong nails, to whether you find you have difficulty concentrating, if you feel relatively irritable sometimes, or if you're for the most part you're always on an even keel and super calm. Like, it's everything from your emotional state, your spiritual state, your physical makeup, your mental state. All of these things are taken into account. And that's what's really beautiful about Ayurveda, is that it's a really super holistic approach. And in Ayurveda, they believe that once you've determined what type of body you have and what type of constitution, because it's not just a physical body, it's also your mental and spiritual and emotional body that we're looking at. But once you figure that out, then you can start to eat and nourish your body in the best way to keep yourself in balance, and to also, if things get out of balance, you can step up your nutritional game and bring yourself back into balance. So the idea that there are the three body types, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, is you determine which one you are predominantly. But for most of us, we all have a little bit of everything, and there's usually two doshas, two types that are a bit more predominant. And what typically happens is, depending on how we live our lives, if we're not living in like a balanced lifestyle, then all of these three doshas can get out of whack. Like for me, for example, to explain this, when I was living in Toronto in February, living a very Vata lifestyle, eating raw vegan food. It was super cold. It was like minus 30 degrees and snowing with like super dry cold. All of these things are very Vata inducing, because Vata, and I guess I can get to this point right now, is Vata is, and all of these, this is like really complicated. It doesn't need to be this complicated. There's three types of bodies, three doshas. Each of them are correlated to the different elements. So Vata is connected to air and ether. Pitta is connected to fire and water, and Kapha is connected to earth and water. So if you think about Vata, you think dry. You think about Pitta, think fiery, and you think Kapha, think heavy and oily. That's kind of how I balance, in a pinch, I describe the three of them. So we want to try to keep all three of those in balance. And do I really want to get into this? I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to leave notes in the comments about the Datus, which is a whole other level of the Ayurveda, which if you studied it, you know about it. If you don't, I'm going to leave some notes about it. And it just gives you a little bit more in-depth knowledge. But Kitchari, which is the recipe that we're going to be talking about today, is the dish for everybody, which is my little play on words. It's a dish for everybody, but it's also a dish for everybody, because Kitchari is a medicinal dish that is used often in Ayurveda to help with digestion process, as well as healing the gut. And here at Rhythmia, we serve Kitchari on the buffet every single day, every single meal. And we do it with lentils and rice and a spice mixture. And it's a great rounding dish that can bring people back into their body in a really nice way. And I do a really simple version that is really, it's good for all body types. And then depending when you have an imbalance of your dosha or your body type, you can adjust the Kitchari through the different vegetables that you use and the spices in order to help bring your body back into balance. So it's a medicinal dish. And so in these different Ayurveda cookbooks that I have and all the studies that I've done, there's always different types of Kitchari for the different bodies. There's also, you can switch up your spices and your vegetables for the seasons. Like in Canada, for example, I would use different spices in the winter than I would, say, in the summer, and vice versa. So the first thing I'm going to get to here is ghee. Before we get to the Kitchari, one of the ingredients is ghee. And you might have seen ghee in the grocery store. It's become a bit more popular in the last few years. When I was transitioning off of my fully vegan diet years ago, ghee was one of the first things I added. I added in goat's milk and ghee. Ghee was super, super healing for me. And all ghee is a brown, slightly brown, clarified butter. And it's used traditionally in Indian dishes, in all types of Indian dishes. And it's super, super simple to make at home. You can buy it at the grocery store in jars, and that's super easy to do. I know that you can, right now, I've been able to buy ghee that's got Himalayan sea salt added to it. You can buy ghee that's, cut with coconut oil, so you're getting a little bit of both of those. Or you can just make your own ghee at home. And why do we want to use ghee over butter or another oil? That's probably your next question. And there's, many different schools of thought on this. For me, it tastes delicious. That's why I really like it, because it's got like a kind of a toasted brown butter taste to it. But through the clarification process and the cooking process that we're going to do, essentially what we're doing is we're separating the milk fat, or the butter fat from the milk solids, thereby eliminating a lot of the issues that some people have with butter because of the dairy, the actual milk, the lactose. We're eliminating that. We're going to be straining that out, and all we're going to be left is the butter fat. So that's typically, it's a little bit easier to assimilate and digest for a lot of people. It's also a little bit more potent in medium-chain triglycerides, which is our fatty acid fat that is, a little bit better than long-chain fats, and it's, it's been proven to burn fat, and it's good for the brain. And if you're doing things like bulletproof coffee, I think the original bulletproof coffee was made with ghee, and now typically people use like really focused MCT oils, but I use ghee if I'm doing a bulletproof coffee, which I think it's a brand. I should be saying bulletproof coffee. But if you're the idea of blending your coffee with fats to help give your brain boost. Ghee is a great ingredient for that. So I'm going to show you how to make it. So you want to start with some really good butter. Grass-fed, organic, if you can get it. If you can't, don't sweat the small stuff. But look for unsalted, because we're going to be cooking it. It's going to be intensifying the flavor, and I just think the taste is better of an unsalted ghee. So I've got here just some butter that's just sitting at a room temperature. It doesn't need to be because we're going to be cooking it. So I've got my cooktop here, and I've got a heavy bottom pot. So you want one that's nice and thick because you don't want your butter to burn. If you've ever melted butter for other recipes, like in baking and whatnot, you know that the thicker the bottom of the pot, the better. So I've got my pot here. I've just turned on my gas, and I'm just going to plop that butter in there. I'm going to add a little bit more I've got here in this container. This is a buffalo butter. And I'm going to do a little mixture, so it's going to have a bit of a different taste. So I'm going to add some of that in. And it already smells delicious. I mean, we all know what anything fried in butter smells like. This is just butter, like a lot of butter that we're cooking down. I used to make this in my apartment in Toronto, and just made my whole apartment smell like heaven. I know a lot of us have still fat phobia, which is crazy because there's been so many studies, which I hate to quote studies about, because a lot of them are just fear mongering. But we know fat is important for not only fueling our body, but for our brain. Our brain is made up of, so much of it is made up of fat. Fat is just good for every metabolic process of the body. So we want to make sure that we're getting good fat into our diet. And things like ghee and like coconut oil, which has also got a bit of a bad rap again recently, they're just really good fats to be adding to your diet. So I've got here my butter, and I'm just starting it to cook down. And as this is going to start melting, it's going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to move on to the vegetables for my next dish. Has anyone asked any questions yet, Kenneth? Not yet. All right. Because I haven't really said much. I've been talking in circles about Ayurveda. Google it. You'll get all the information you need. Bottom line is, it's a really awesome way to look at your diet and your body. If you're curious about learning more about perhaps why your body acts a certain way, why, if you have certain symptoms that you're not sure about, if you look up your dosha, it might have, you might be able to get some answers and, some small tweaks to your lifestyle. For me, like that example I said, when I was living in Toronto in February, adding in a bit of goat milk product, eliminating my running, and instead of having a green smoothie for breakfast, but subbing in oatmeal, really helped bring my body back into alignment, and it helped me feel back in my body, because at that point when I was eating nothing but raw food in that winter, I was feeling like a total space cadet. Like I was not present, I was flaky, I was forgetting things, but as soon as I brought more cooked food into my diet and ghee, it was like a huge life changer for me, and I felt physically better, mentally better, and just overall, like a complete person again. So if you've got stuff that you're working through, check it out. Maybe there's some answers that you've been seeking. So this is almost melted down just into a liquid form, and in the meantime, I'm going to cut up some vegetables. Now, the Kitchari here at Rhythmia, like I mentioned, we do a really simple version. I'm using this tiniest knife in the world. Let me grab a bigger one. Sound effects again, like every week. We do a really simple version. I typically just do celery. This knife isn't sharp. I'm 0 for 2 with my knives here today. So one thing I didn't do to prepare today was sharpen my knives, but this will be fine. So I'm going to cut this in half. Zucchini and carrot is what we typically put in, and that's just some really simple vegetables. And you could sub out anything. Today I'm going to do zucchini, carrot, and celery. And the other component of our kitchari, the two main components outside of vegetables, are rice and lentils. That's what we do here at Rhythmia, rice and lentils. But if you have access to mung beans, that's the more traditional protein that we use in a kitchari, which I'm going to show you right after I slice up this carrot. So underneath this towel, to avoid the wind, I have some of my other ingredients. So I've got here just some white basmati rice. You can use any rice. You can use brown rice. You can use whatever you want. I also have some lentils here. These are just some green lentils that I brought to show you. This is what we use here at Rhythmia. But what I'm going to use today is some split mung beans. You could use whole ones soaked overnight, which is really, really great for digestion, or I've got some split mung beans here, and that's what I'm going to use. So kitchari, that's what it is. It is a rice and bean dish, or rice and legume dish, and you can swap out, like I said, any of the lentils. I like sometimes using the orange lentils, so it gives it more of a porridge consistency. But really, the basic dish is going to be just a bunch of spices cooked down in the ghee or coconut oil, which is, I use coconut oil at Rhythmia, but today we're going to use our spices cooked down in our ghee that we're going to have made fresh. Then you add in your rice and your mung beans and let it cook down, and it becomes this amazing, super grounding, super comforting, super delicious dish. And then when I serve it with a drizzle of ghee on top, which is super tasty. So I got my carrots here. Next thing I'm going to do is some zucchini. Get this out of the way here. And then I'm going to talk briefly about the spices. So the spices that I'm going to do today, and I'm going to show you them all as well, are some really delicious and healthy, health-inducing, medicinal spices as well. So the main ingredient, the main spice is turmeric. I'm going to answer a question. Mike Alter says, Megan, what's up, girl? Scotty is going to come to Rhythmia today and give him a big hug for me when you see him. All right. Scotty, so I'm having a moment here. Remind me, give me a last name. Give me a last name. Is he arriving to check in for the week? Is that what's going on? That's super exciting. I will definitely, I'm a hugger. I'll be giving hugs to everybody. I'll give a special one for Mike. So back to the spices. The first main ingredient that we're going to be adding in is going to be turmeric, which we've probably all, if you're into the culinary world at all, you've probably heard about it. I'm going to slice up some celery now. Anti-inflammatory. One of my first, my first fiance, he used to take turmeric pills because he had a bit of an arthritic knee, because turmeric has long been said to have great anti-inflammatory processes. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what's going on here with my butter. Turn this down a titch. In the essence, because we're doing live, I was going to say live TV, Facebook Live, I actually put my heat on pretty high here. If you're doing this at home, you want to cook your butter down over like a low heat. You want to let it like both low and slow. But in the essence of time, I've done it on a little bit of a higher heat. I'm going to show you. I'm going to take it off the heat. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. But it is kind of foamy. You see all that foam on there? That's stuff that we're going to skim off eventually. The idea here is we want all of the milk solids to sink to the bottom. We want the whey to come to the top and froth. Skim that off, and then we're going to be left with this beautiful golden, buttery elixir at the end of the day. So I'm going to grab where's my big spoon? I'm going to grab my big spoon and my old butter bowl, and I'm going to just skim off this foam, and I'm going to show you what this looks like after. And this foam will it'll keep coming up to a point, and then it'll stop. We'll have cooked it all out. It smells really good. Buffalo butter has a very distinct smell to it, which is a butter that we ordered by accident. That's why I'm using it. It also has a very distinct taste. I like it. Some people don't. That's why I'm going to probably end up eating all of this ghee myself, because I don't think I'll be putting in as many recipes. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually, Kenneth, can you put that in front of the camera there and show them? So this is the way that we have skimmed off. It's foamy. And then I'm going to take a picture. Talk about interaction here. So I just took a picture of what this looks like cooking. And I'm going to post it right now into the comments. Woohoo! Real time on Facebook. I'm going to post it. Oh, I got to turn off my volume here. It's going to feedback. And I'm going to post it into the comments right now so you guys can see what this looks like. Until I get my camera, Jerry. Cooking sheep TV shows, Jerry, if you're watching, I want one of them cameras above here that can shoot what I'm doing from above. What do you think about that? This will be how I can do this. So let's see. How do I post this picture? Da, 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 da. I'm live now. There's got to be a way to do it. Start that? Maybe not. I should have maybe thought about this beforehand, but this is something I'm going to look into. Oh, there we go. Hit the picture. There we go. I can do it live. I'm going to take a picture live. There we go. There. Check out the comments. It's uploading now. Posting. It's beautiful. The picture actually looks pretty trippy. So this is what the butter looks like right now, clarifying. Sorry about that distraction, everybody. And I'm going to let this cook until I feel like it's very clear in color, like it'll be a clear yellow color, and it'll be obvious that the chunk, like the milk solids, have floated to the bottom, at the bottom of the pot. And at that point, we got clarified butter. And that's when, before we get it to the point where the milk starts to toast a little bit, it's technically clarified butter. Now, if we let it cook low and slow a little bit longer and the milk solids at the bottom start to brown a little bit and caramelize, then we get to the point where it becomes ghee. And ghee has a nice nutty taste, and that's where I'm going with it today. That's what I prefer, and that's what, that's what ghee technically is versus clarified butter. Did that picture pop up into the comments yet, Kenneth? Do you know? Okay, so back to my vegetables here, and we were talking about the spices. We talked about turmeric, anti-inflammatory, really great, a cancer fighter, delicious, beautiful color. It's what gives we see in a lot of Indian dishes. I do I was going to say a curcuma stir fry here, which curcuma is what we call turmeric in Spanish. We do a stir fry here that's just mixed vegetables with a bit of garlic and ginger and lots of turmeric and coconut oil. You could use ghee as well, which would be super, super tasty. And then back to the spices. So I've also got coriander seed and mustard seed. I've got a bay leaf. I've got here, which I'm going to toss in because I'm all about potency. This here is a mix. This is a spice mix. You can these days at any health food store go in, instead of buying all these individual spices, you can buy Kitchari spice mix. Like I'm going to come around to the camera here. Woo! This one, for example, Kitchari spice mix. I'm covering up the brand here. But this includes brown mustard seed, turmeric, mineral salt, cumin, ginger, the word that I can never say, asafoetida, fenugreek, and it's all certified organic. And you can buy mixes just like this if you don't want to go around dealing with all the individual spices. And if you don't cook an awful lot, this is a great way to go about it, because then you're not going to have all of these open jars of spices that are just going to go bad, because spices are only good for like 6 months max. And that's if you're storing them really well. And they'll start losing their flavor and some of their health properties. So you want to try to keep as small amounts as possible on hand and use them as much as possible. So this is still going, and it smells delicious. And I've got a bit more whey, so I'm going to scoop that off. And it just comes off like a beautiful foam. And I'm going to let this keep going, and I'm going to steal a little bit of the clarified butter, because that's pretty much what we've got going right now. And I'm going to put it into my other pot so we can start making the kitchari, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. And it's like the easiest thing in the world. Coconut water. Cheers. All right. So I got my other pot going here. And again, you want to have a nice thick bottom pot. I mean, anytime you're cooking something like this, it's going to start with oil and spices. That's kind of the idea. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of our clarified butter. What did I do with that spoon? I'm going to cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs today. I'm going to be generous and put a couple of really good tablespoons of the oil on the bottom here. The oil, the ghee, the clarified butter. And I'm going to let that heat up. So amazing. These little gas cooktops, just like that. I'm hearing the butter, the ghee go already. So the next thing I'm going to add is my seeds. So I've got some cumin seeds. Toss those whole cumin seeds in. Got some coriander seeds. Toss those in. And again, I'm using huge amounts of spices here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the one that's eating all of this this kitchari. So I'm being really generous with the portions. This is a bit of that spice mix that I was just talking about. I'm going to pop all of that in as well, because it has some whole seeds. And then I'll let that cook a little bit. I don't want to walk on camera. Sorry about that. And I'm just going to let that all start to cook in that oil. You can hear it. And I want to let that go until the seeds and the mustard, there's mustard seeds in there as well. There's mustard seeds in that mix. And you want to let this go until the mustard seeds start to jump and pop a little bit. If you've ever cooked, done Indian dishes, quite often that's what your instructions are going to say. Cook the seeds till they start to dance a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn that down a tish. I don't know if you can hear that, but stuff is starting to jump out of the pot, so that's a good sign. And this is going to really get some flavor building and activate the spices, get, the medicinal properties releasing into the oil. And look at that. So amazing. I'm just going to turn that down a bit. Oh, it smells incredible, doesn't it, Kenneth? Yeah. Spices cooked in butter. Come on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a mesh, a sieve, whatever you have on hand. It could be plastic for this process. And I'm going to take my rice. So this is about a cup of rice, and my beans. And this is my mung beans. And I'm just going to run them under water. And if you have the time, I want you to run these underwater until the water runs clear. So you can put these right in a bowl and just keep changing the water out. You want to really clear off, as much of the excess starch and any dirt. If you're using lentils, make sure you pick through your lentils. Oh, look at that. Thanks, Kenneth. Pick through the lentils. Sorry, it's a lot of turmeric, and it's like wafting over and making me cough a little bit. But it's not burning. It smells delicious. So then, drop that in. Then we're going to toss in our vegetables. And every recipe is going to tell you probably a little bit different. In the sake of simplifying things, I'm just all about toss it in. As long as you toast off your spices at the beginning, then whatever. Do whatever else you want in whatever order you want to do it. So I'm just going to toss my veggies in. I'm going to toss a bay leaf in just because I love bay leaves. I love the taste. It just gives a nice depth of flavor. I'm going to toss that in. Just be sure that before you serve, you take that out, because quite often in the cooking process, the bay leaf will break down into pieces, and if someone bites into that, it's not really pleasant at all. So one bay leaf, I'm going to add in a tiny bit of cardamom. This is just cardamom powder. You don't need a lot. Cardamom's super, super strong in flavor. I think I've talked about it in the past. It's super strong in flavor, but it gives recipes a little taste that people are like, what is that? It's really interesting flavor. So I use cardamom in a lot of sweet and savory dishes. So I'm just giving this a really good stir. Amazing. Did this turn off? My ghee stopped cooking because the wind must have caught it. Hazards of cooking outside with gas. Okay, so is this too hot? No. I'm going to carry this over. Show you guys what's going on here. Dun, dun, dun. So this is just the spices and the rice and the vegetables and the mung beans. Really nice, really nice scent. Getting a nice little toast on the rice. And then all we need to do is add the water. So the recipe that I'm going to post in the comments here is for, I think it's like a cup of rice, a couple of cups of lentils or mung beans, and then 8 cups of water. You could use a little bit more than that or a little bit less. It's going to depend on what legume you're using. I'm going to add enough water here to cover my rice and my mung beans by several inches. And then you just put a top on the pot and let it cook. Kenneth, can you do me one favor? Yes. Can you grab a bowl of kitchari from the buffet and bring it over? Kenneth is going to bring us a bowl of the finished product because I forgot to do that. And like I think I've said before in my videos, I always forget something. For every piece of blood, I forget an ingredient. I didn't last week because I was actually in my mom's kitchen, so anything I forgot, I could just pick up. But this is like the basic recipe. Super, super easy. And as I said, you can swap out the vegetables. According to your dosha, if you decide you want to figure out what that is, or B, just with your own likes and what's available in season and locally. And the other thing to take note of is when I was living in Toronto and living that very raw vegan lifestyle, and doing all of the things, and then that one just went out as well. But when I did a self-diagnosis of my dosha, I came up as being Vata. Which, if you had seen me back then, you would have looked at me and said, oh yeah, she's Vata. Because I was very, very thin. I was probably 30 pounds lighter than I am now. I was super flaky. I looked kind of weak, even though I was, feeling pretty strong because I was doing my oyster training, but I was very frail. And the way that my body felt at the time, the way that I felt mentally and physically, I felt very Vata. But that was because I was living such a Vata lifestyle that I had gotten my body all out of whack. So it was actually my Ayurvedic practitioner that I was working with and studying with at the time, who sat me down one time in a one-on-one meeting, and he said, Megan, look at the bones, look at your bones, look at the size of your hands, look at how you're actually built. You should have more flesh on your body, and you're not Vata. You need to be balanced, and you really need to balance that out and bring back up your levels of Pitta and Kapha in your doshas. And so that's why I incorporated some more of the cooked foods and things like that, to get back to my natural state, because we can very easily live in a different state by creating an imbalance through our lifestyle choices. So now I feel very strong in that he had diagnosed me as Pitta Kapha. So Pitta, very fiery, muscular, gain and lose weight really easily, good digestion, you know, aggressive, like all of those things that go along somewhat with being a Scorpio. As well as Kappa, which is what a lot of my family is. I'm from my Dutch heritage. You know, really strong, you know, thick bones, thick hair, thick nails. Like my mother's super thick nails. So I'm a little bit of both of those. So now my balance in life, in my work in life, is to keep those in balance. And if I get too kappa, too much kappa overruns my life. Like if I'm eating too much oil, if I'm being too sedentary, if I'm doing, you know, too many, you know, heavy things like that, or, you know, slow moving. What are some other words that I could use to describe? Like words that pertain to kappa are things like oily, cold, heavy, stable, viscous and smooth. Pitta, which is, you know, we can also look at as being oily, hot, light, intense, fluid, and liquid, versus vata, which are words like dry, cold, light, irregular, mobile, and rough. You know, and it's really easy once you can understand the significance of the three different doshas. You can see in your own life, you know, what, you know, like I know when I'm eating too much oil and fat and not being active, and, you know, that my kappa overruns, and then I start feeling really lethargic and really heavy and really uncomfortable. So that's when I know I need to bring in more vata and pitta into my life to help bring down the kappa. And once I do that, then my energy comes back up. I feel lighter on my feet. I might drop a couple of pounds, and life just feels that much more clear and easy, and ease and flow come naturally. So that's the basics of the Ayurveda and the Kitchari. And I've got my ghee going again here, and I'm going to scoop off a little bit more of this. I'm going to use a different spoon. Put this way, and then I'm going to show you the finished product. I'm going to pour it into this jar because I can smell that it's starting to brown up a little bit. So incredible. I mean, and you can go and you can use this clarified butter and or ghee in any way that you use butter. You can put it on your popcorn. Like I think I've mentioned in the past that I like putting coconut oil on my popcorn with sea salt. Super tasty, some nutritional yeast. You could use ghee in the same way. Super delicious. So we've done that. Beautiful. And then the final step of this process is to strain it. So we want to make sure that we have a nice clean strainer and a nice clean jar. And the beauty of ghee, clarified butter, is it's shelf stable because we've eliminated the milk out of it. It's great at room temperature, even here in Costa Rica. So I'm going to turn it off. Take my pot. Ooh, very carefully. That was almost a whole pot of boiling butter flying on the ground. And then, you think I could do this? This is a bigger pot, a bigger strainer, and a tiny bottle. I'm accident prone. Do you think I'm going to do this without making a big mess and burning myself? Let's see. Tune in to find out right now. Here we go. What do you think, Kenneth? I'm going to burn myself? Whoa, oh, making a little bit of a mess. Not as bad as I thought. Just like that. Look at the color. Isn't that incredible? I did make a pretty big mess, but I didn't burn myself, so that's amazing. Kenneth is coming running with the towel. I've got this one here as well. And look at this. Come on with the beautiful. Let me just wipe this enough so I can grip it. Doesn't this just look like health? Come on. It's like glowing in the dark. Amazing. So you can see that it's clear. You can see right through this just about because it is clarified. And we've gotten rid of all of that. Thank you, Kenneth. Come on in. We've gotten rid of all of those milk solids. Look at the color of that. That makes me so happy. I'm so excited about that. It looks like turmeric. And I got my Kitchari cooking away on the stove here. And like I promised, I'm going to show you the finished product. So this is right direct from our buffet. Hot off the buffet here at Rhythmia because lunch is still serving. We're open until 3 on Sundays when all the guests are arriving. People want to come and eat. And this is the finished product. So this is done with the lentils and the rice, and we've got carrots and zucchini and Meg spice mix, which you guys are going to get in the comments as well. So that, my friends, is a really convoluted Ayurveda 101. Easy, super easy Kitchari recipe and ghee. Like you guys can do this at home, and for me, I like to make big batches of this, and then I will reheat it on the stove with a little extra ghee drizzled on top. If you're really studying Ayurveda, they do not, part of the Ayurveda way is the idea that leftovers are not to be eaten because there's no life force left. And once you initially prepare food to reutilize it and reheat it, medicinal value left to it in Ayurvedic philosophy. But like I'm always saying, that, you know, you gotta take some and leave some. And for me, if you're gonna make a big patch of this and eat this and have something handy and healthy at all times to eat, I would much prefer you do a big batch of this and have it every night, and not worry about the fact that it's left over and not do it. And you can also do it in a slow cooker if you have a slow cooker at home. So that's that, my friends. And oh, it looks like Kenneth is writing a note for me, so I'm gonna wait to see what he says about that. Next Sunday, what is next Sunday? I think I'm doing potentially vegan cheeses next Sunday. Stay tuned to your inbox. If you're not on the Rhythmia newsletter yet, sign up for that. You can do that through the Rhythmia website, where you'll get a reminder. I think every Wednesday we send out an email reminder that explains to you about Jerry's live on Saturday, my live on Sunday, Christian's live on Friday, and Dr. Jack's content, what he's going to be talking about on Monday. So stay tuned for that. And I think it's plant-based cheeses, in which case I'll be doing that for 2 weeks in a row, part 1 and 2. Then after that, I'll be doing one on kale. I'm going to be doing a special one for Valentine's Day. You name it, it's happening. And I'm super happy that you guys all watched here today. Julia says, can you show us what is left in the ghee pan? I can. Jane O'Hara says, hi Meg. You show us with us in the ghee pan. We do just first before kapha dosha. How do you determine your dosha? I'm vata kapha. I have super sensitive gut. Yum. Okay. So, yes, all of this recipe definitely can be adjusted for every dosha. It really depends, you know, if you're tri-doshic or du-doshic, you know, there's different recipes. I know in all of my Ayurvedic cookbooks, it's just a matter of swapping out your spices and your vegetables. And if you know your dosha already, I would say Google Kitchari for your dosha. So if you're kapha, Kitchari for kapha, and it's going to tell you exactly what ingredients are best for you, and then that way you can determine what you have access to and what's in seasonal and what's in, you know, local and organic and in season, because that would be preferable. And in the ghee pan, I didn't let this go as far as I would normally go, so this isn't going to be the best example. You can see there's white solids at the bottom. Typically, I would want to let this go to the point where I had more white solid and they start to brown. So, like I said, low and slow is typically better. What did I write on my notes for you guys? I'm gonna copy and paste my 2 pages of notes here. And in my when I wrote down for the ghee, I said, melt it over medium-low heat. The whey floats to the top. Skim it off. I didn't say a timeline, but I would say keep your ghee cooking on a low, super low heat. I would cook it sometimes up to 20 minutes. And at that point, everything is fully separated. The milk solids at the bottom have started to brown, and you'll smell it and you'll be able to see it. But you need to be mindful. Like, this isn't something you want to put on the stove and walk away from and forget about, because it is butter and it will burn, and it is an oil, so that's very flammable. So ideally at the bottom, and maybe I'll get a picture from my computer and post that in the comments as well of what the milk solids at the bottom actually look like. Did I answer all of that stuff? Marina, how do you determine your dosha? So Fiona, there's many different ways. Oh, Scott from Hawaii, yes. Oh, amazing. And now Mike's saying hi to Jane. Oh, you guys are so sweet. I love this. All of these Rhythmia alumni are watching the live and saying hello to each other makes me super happy. And Fiona Clark, so determining your dosha, there's many different ways that you can do that. I did it personally the first time by an online questionnaire, where it was literally like 6 different sections of like 10 questions, you know, where you answered on a you know, rate from 1 to 5, you know, 0 meaning does not apply to me, 5 super, like, really applies to me. And it's everything from I gain weight and lose weight easily, to I have thick hair and nails, to I have light colored penetrating eyes. You know, some of it seems a little bit like woo-woo, but there's, you know, tons of different online questionnaires you could do now to get a good idea. But best case is seeing an Ayurvedic practitioner, and I know there are plenty of them available now. I know when I was in Toronto, there were several. I worked with 2 specifically, actually, a male and female practitioner. That was what they did for a living. Because Ayurveda is not just about this. There's, you know, there's specific cleansing techniques called Pachmakara, which is different types of cleansing for the body, using different things from everything from loofah, like dry loofah body scrubbing, which is like, this is a whole other thing. Maybe I'll do a whole Facebook Live about that. That would be really good. To, you know, different diet changes, to like things like triphala, like like herbal remedies. You know, like a lot of Ayurveda also is in alignment with Chinese medicine. A lot of the same similar ideas, which, as far as I'm concerned, gives really good legitimacy to all of these theories. So people in India, people in China, you know, these beautiful sages and medicine doctors of years and years and years past, they're all coming up with the same notions and ideas about why our body functions the way it functions and what we can do naturally to heal and keep it healthy. There must be something to it, right? I mean, our Western medicine world is completely whack. And, not completely whack. I love, like, Western medicine has its place, but there's a certain level of natural healing that's capable following some of these more Eastern techniques. And if they're all very similar, there must be, you know, good reason for it. So if you want to answer your question, you know, you can start by just doing an online questionnaire, and then you can seek out an Ayurvedic practitioner in your area if it's something that really speaks to you. I would say find out your dosha through a questionnaire, buy a couple of books, do some research online, see if it works for you, see if you, you know, if it makes any changes or if it intrigues you, and then maybe take the next steps to see a doctor. A lot of naturopathic doctors out there have a lot of Ayurvedic knowledge as well. So they might work with you on different supplements that are, you know, are good for you. I worked with ashwagandha when I was, you know, quite depleted in my early 30s, which helped me get over a lot of, you know, exhaustion and overwork and, you know, adrenal fatigue, which is what I think is an overused term these days. But I was working through that in my late 20s and early 30s. So there's so much information out there. So that was just a brief touch on all of this, and we can talk about the different cleansing techniques that I was touching on in another live. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. And in the meantime, I'm going to say, Mike Alter, we love you. He says, we love you. It doesn't matter if the butter has salt. Preferably unsalted. Always preferably unsalted as far as I'm concerned. Unless you're buying butter just to put on your toast, unsalted is always best because you're typically always adding salt to recipes. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that's it for now. So, my friends, what time are we at? Am I on time? Is it about 2:37? Ooh, 2:42. I went a little bit over this week. So I'm going to say sayonara, hasta luego, hasta muy pronto. Have a beautiful week. We'll see you here next Sunday, same time, same channel. Love you all. And say peace out. Pura vida.
Pura vida.
And tuanis.
Tuanis.
Bye, guys.